Hello, hello, traders. Good morning. How are we doing today? I hope everybody's doing well. My name is Jason Krutzky. It is a pleasure to be with you all this morning, this Monday morning. The markets are selling off a little bit. Crypto ripped over the weekend. What else happened? What were you guys up to this weekend? How was your weekend? Hopefully everybody had a really nice weekend and you got to go out and do something fun and explore nature, perhaps. Good morning, Deep Dive Live. How are you today? Hope you're well. There's a few of you here. If you have never been to an office hours session, well, welcome for your first time. I'll be here for about an hour. We have a very busy day today, so I can't hang out too long, but I'll be here for about an hour. And I am here specifically to answer any TrendSpider related questions that you might have. Trying to figure out how to use a tool, trying to figure out where something on the platform might be, trying to figure out how to script something. Generally, just trying to expand your understanding of TrendSpider. That is what we're here to do. That's what I'm here to help you with. So there's a few of you here now. Please say hello. You guys all know me. I don't know any of y'all. Well, I know Deep Dive Live. Deepdive.live. You've hung out with me before, so thank you for being here. But who else is here? Please say hello. Introduce yourself. Tell us where you're tuning in from. If you are currently a TrendSpider trader, please let me know that. If you are not yet a TrendSpider trader, what are you waiting for? And also, how can I push you over the edge? What do I got to show you to make you take the plunge? What are we doing here today? Are there any tickers you guys are watching? I'm kind of curious. I have not really gone looking through anything today. But man, everything is getting sold off too, huh? Let me see what's up with crypto real quick. Crypto kind of selling a little bit too, huh? Just a little selling. What's up, Gary? Got TrendSpider over the summer? Right on. That's awesome. How are you enjoying it? And what brings you here this morning, Gary? Did you just happen to stumble upon the stream? Were you waiting for this to ask a specific question? Whatever you got, that's what I'm here for. You're in Sox S and SPXS. Wow, you went with the weed route, huh? It was like the one sector that hadn't really pumped yet, so I guess it makes sense. Nice move today, clearly. Hopefully you got it before today. Deep dive. What's the weed ETF? MJ? Man, crazy how much these things have sold off over the years. Really crazy. So what's up, Gary? What brings you here today, man? How can I help you? Can I help you? Or Deep Dive, did you have questions? I hate to just sit here in silence. What do we think? Are we thinking this is like gonna be like a real deal sell-off, or is this just kind of a little correction after a absolutely monster month of November? Really insane how strong November was. How do you test stop loss and take profit strategies? All right, so that's kind of an interesting question, Gary. Maybe you could give me just a smidge more color on what you're looking for. Because you can add a stop loss and a take profit value to any strategy, but are you saying that you want to specifically just trade based off of whatever your entry conditions are, and then you want to just utilize a stop loss and a take profit as your exit? Is that what you're saying? Because you can add a stop loss and a take profit value to any strategy, but are you saying that you want to? I just want to make sure that I understand you correctly and show you the correct thing. Are you trying to understand how to employ a stop loss and a take profit correctly? Or are you trying to figure out how to add one, just simply add one to your strategy? Or how to utilize them effectively, I guess. There's a couple of different possible questions there. And I just want to make sure that I answered the correct one. Should the stop loss be more than 1%? I mean, the stop loss should be whatever value, whatever percentage you deem sensical. There are no rules behind what the stop loss should be, really. It should just be whatever makes sense for you and for your risk to reward ratio is really what it's all about. And it might be relative per your time frame. It might be relative per the type of trade. You know, if you're, in theory, like if you're swing trading and you're thinking that you want to hold something for decent periods of time, maybe a week or two. Good morning, why not? Or 3 or a month or a couple of months. Well, then, you know, your stop loss, you don't want to utilize a very tight stop loss because you're probably going to get stopped out. Whereas if your time frame for holding is shorter, then potentially you might want to utilize a tighter stop. It just depends on what's getting you into and out of the trade to begin with. Maybe you can kind of tell me a bit about that, you know? Why are you getting into and out of the trade? You're trying to trade JD. Oof. Pretty ugly. But, you know, what time frame are you trying to trade this on? I guess is a question. What's your entry and exit criteria? And what time frame? Because we could play around with it, you know, like we could throw it into the strategy tester on my end. And if you have a particular strategy that you're trading, you could send it over. We could load it up here. That's an option. Trading the daily, okay. And what's getting you in? Why are we in this trade, Gary? Because like we might be able to use the Price Behavior Explorer to tell us a little bit more about what we should be doing. Gary, we need details. It's, excuse me, oversold. Okay. So presumably, well, on what time frame? You're trading the daily and you're saying it's oversold, but it's not oversold on the daily. At least on RSI. I don't know. Maybe you're using a different indicator. Gary, if you can give me like kind of more strict details about what's getting you into and out of this trade, that would help me dramatically. You know, no pressure. I don't want to like, you know, force you into giving me your strategy, but if you want to try and work on it, I need to know a little bit more about what specifically you're using. What indicators are you using? Like, what are you defining? To everybody who's tuned in over the past 10 minutes or so, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure. Oh, you don't have any. Oh, okay. Interesting. Well, to know what kind of stop loss and take profit you need to be employing, I would tell you that you have to know something more about the strategy to begin with. Like, for example, let's use your example here, and let's just say like RSI is less than 30 as our entry. I don't know how this is going to play out, but let's just say we want to buy oversold and sell overbought. So on the exit side, we'll say RSI greater than 70. Again, we're being very loose here, but for the sake of trying to understand what we need to do here. All right. So yeah, so I kind of figured this wouldn't work very well. And that's not a surprise. Not even really that many positions taken either. Which is kind of surprising. Maybe we need to be, maybe we need to be selling a bit sooner. Let me change this to like 50. That's a few more positions. Let's change it to 40. Again, I'm just kind of tinkering around here. What I'm really trying to do is get more positions. Maybe I can utilize a smaller time frame, kind of see. I mean, this thing has been selling for a while, hasn't it? All right, so now at least we have, okay. Okay, so if we were to just trade this is pretty interesting. This is a very, very basic buying. We're essentially buying oversold. Buying when RSI is below 30, but then we're kind of like selling the pop is the idea, because we're not, this thing clearly doesn't catch a bid hasn't been catching a bid very often. It's just been selling off. But you know, this actually ends up performing pretty decent over the past, 7 years. It definitely beats buy and hold. You know, this thing has obviously given back all of its gains over the past 3-4 years. And so we are at least holding on to those gains. So the strategy, 130% return versus 0.5% on the asset over that same period of time. 84 positions, no-go highlighting. So relatively okay strategy. Now, the next thing we could do is we could come in here and we could look at the Price Behavior Explorer to see how our winners tend to do. And our winners actually, wow, our winners can draw down quite a bit, as much as 17%. That's pretty gnarly before turning around and becoming a winning trade. what we can also do, we can turn on number of winning trades. So out of those 84 positions, looks like 53 made it 3 candles. How many made it down here? 12. 12 made it this far. So this trade really doesn't, we don't stay in the trade very long. Kind of feels like we should be getting out pretty quickly. If only 12 of our, and really the returns fade over time too. The best return of 96% of our winners is 6.86% or so. And over time, those returns decrease. So really, it makes a lot of sense to like get out of this trade faster. So let's try that first. Let's get out after 5 candles, regardless of whether or not, regardless of what the RSI value is. Let's see if this helps us at all. So it doesn't really help us. We take more positions now. It does help our drawdown pretty dramatically. So you could then think about it like this. I don't know if this is going to serve us. Looks like 96% of our winners now only draw down as much as 3.5% before turning around, becoming winners. Your best return, 8.25%. So you could try putting a stop at 3.5 and a take profit at 8. Let's see. I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to try it. Hey, Sonia. Yeah, okay, so that helped. That increased the return, but looks like we got some no-go highlighting now. So now our win rate isn't quite high enough per our risk to reward ratio. So we might have to, I don't know, we might have to try taking profit a little bit sooner. We might have to try tightening up the stop. We might have to just pull them. You know, it's hard to know for sure. No, our win rate didn't go up. Let's see here. You took 5% on your trading account, couldn't concentrate. You'll work on a Twitter. Okay, yeah, hit me up. Arnab, what's up? Strategies on finding a bottom for NVIDIA. I know you talked about Wyckoff distribution. Yeah, I did. Which was super useful. Any other tips for finding bottom based on recent price action? Well, hold on. Before we get to you, Arnab, Gary, where I don't know, is this helping you at all? What it kind of appears to me. Let me go back here. Well, hold on. Before we get to you, Arnab, Gary, where I don't know, is this helping you at all? Oh, it sounds like my music has turned off. Let's get it going again. Okay, cool. So this is helping you a little bit. Awesome. All right, so we're back to no-go highlighting. I've taken off all the rules except for the RSI value. So sometimes you can look at this chart and it can guide you as to like where you need to be setting stops and take profits just based off of where 96% of your winners tend to catch a bid before reversing and then reverse to the upside. Sometimes you can utilize this 96% of winners chart. I mean, if you are the thing to me is like this chart, why are you trying to go long this name? Like, to me, what you should be looking for, instead of buying oversold, you should be looking to sell overbuy. This thing has been down only for years. So why wouldn't we be shorting the weakness instead of trying to buy some strength? You throw the zigzag indicator on the cues on the 4-hour, I see a sell-off, but then again, I'm not as smart as my fellow spiders. All right, so Arnab, talking about finding bottoms on NVIDIA. So, you know, how people define a bottom and how they how they visualize it are, you know, everybody's unique. What I've been kind of pointing to is this anchored VWAP from this gap up. You know, this is a lot of price action since May. It's a lot of price memory at that VWAP level, potentially. So a first spot that I'd be keeping an eye on is this 441 spot, 442. That's where your anchored VWAP is from the gap up. Generally, when you have these big power earnings gaps and they end up holding the gap for decent periods of time, that VWAP over time becomes more and more important. Trading above it, trading below it. Does it act as support? Does it act as resistance? You know, it's been price initially found some support there, and then it's kind of been fluctuating in and around it for a period. So that would be a spot to keep an eye on. Deep dive, you talked about the zigzag, and I am a pretty big proponent of zigzag myself. And, you know, it's what we're seeing on zigzag is a little tricky because we've made a lower low, and a higher high, technically, right, relative to the previous couple of swings. So then maybe you want to go weekly, but then I think weekly won't really get you where you want. So the platform is identifying this. I'm going to turn off the zigzag real quick. This is the double top chart pattern drawing tool. So it's identifying this. Now this won't be legit. This wouldn't be considered a legit double top unless they actually fail below the, I guess, the neckline of the double top, this level right here, 392. I'm just seeing this too on the weekly. You've got a fair value gap that we're just filling now. That's not highlighting it. Let me go to a smaller, a gap factor. Yeah, there it is. So they've just filled this fair value gap right here. So this is kind of interesting. I don't know. I mean, you know, and then you have on the daily, you have a fair value gap unfilled right here. And not only do you have a fair value gap unfilled, you've got the anchored VWAP right at the bottom of it too. So I don't know. I mean, what's your time frame? You know, what's your time frame for this trade is a big question. It's a question that's relevant pretty much all the time, because what might be the bottom on a 5 minute, right, isn't going to necessarily be the bottom on the daily. It might be, but you know, depending on how you're thinking about your time frame, how you're thinking about the trade, that's going to make a lot of decisions, or it's going to like dictate a lot of decisions, I guess. Me personally, if I had to point to something, since I'm a trend follower, I would really be watching here for 10. Because really what you have, if you're in a downtrend, right? Here's your downtrend. Here's a high, a low, a lower high, a lower low. If this is your downtrend, then what you've done here is you've broken structure in the sense that you've made a new high. So then you're looking for places for pullbacks. What I would do is I would measure a fib. So we're at the 50 fib here. So that's kind of interesting that you're pretty much like right at the 50% retrace of this move. So you've got the 618. You've got a fair value gap here. You've got this anchored VWAP. So kind of looking in here potentially for at least some sort of bounce. Whether that is the bottom, I don't know. Your time frame is weekly. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that gives you a little bit more, that gives me a little bit more clarity about kind of where your head's at. The daily, you're not quite there yet. You might be, but you know, there's a couple of things here that we just went through between the fair value gap and the VWAP. You're not quite oversold yet on RSI. So could it pull back a little bit further and find some support down in here? I mean, I would be looking for it. I'm not saying it's going to, but I would be looking for it because it's possible. If they end up losing that fib, if they, oh, nope, that's not the fib that I see. Sometimes the auto fib will draw the fib you see, and sometimes it doesn't. So this is the one that I'm kind of keeping an eye. I would be keeping an eye on, just this swing. So somewhere between like 435 and really right here. Be looking for some sort of bottoming action in here. If they fail below this, then they're probably going all the way back to the bottom of the range, is what I would assume. I'm not saying they're gonna, but that's what I would assume. If they start failing below the, really below the 0.618, then you got to expect somewhere down in here. And then to me, this level would make the most sense for 10. And what's good about this is if this ends up working, and they do bring it all the way down here, then your stop would be like a new low, but your target would be a new high. So your R would be, what, 4.5? Your R would be pretty sweet. That's kind of how I look at it. Sonia, we'll see you later. Your SPY target is 460.70. Ooh. So you think a bounce is coming, huh? I don't know. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Arnab. Matt Jr., what's up? Bullish global equity as GDP positive. Fed cuts. Hike. Jobless claims. More. Government promising oil. Petrol price cut to collect vote. So crude oil will drop under 65. That makes global market bullish. I hope you're right, Matt. It's been a lovely time watching markets rip over the past month. I'd love to see it continue. But yeah, Arnab, in the near term, I would keep a close eye on that power earnings gap. Oops, I'm on SPY. I keep a close eye on that anchored VWAP from the power earnings gap up. Could be a really important level. They usually tattletale on the asset via divergence. Yeah, you know, there's not a right or wrong indicator to use. Use what makes sense for you. I've spent some time tooling around with the stochastic RSI. I don't really use CCI personally. Arnab, great. You know, another thing you could do, keep your eye on seasonality. This is important too. NVIDIA seasonality in January over the past, since 1999, is pretty lousy. So seasonality for NVIDIA is suggesting that it should perform poorly over the next, maybe not this month, but definitely next month. Now, does that mean that it will? Not necessarily. But data suggests January is pretty lousy for NVIDIA. So, you know, keep your eye on it and keep this reality in the back of your mind. You could, if you wanted to, you could kind of, you could take a look at at unusual options and see how they're setting up. Remember, this is a fluid chart. This changes. Excuse me. This changes. Excuse me. Here's looking out to May of next year. You know, overwhelmingly call biased through January. And then it starts getting, you start seeing a little bit more red. So puts. But again, that can change over time. One thing that I thought that was interesting, was Jensen Huang was selling, and he didn't sell a ton. It was like 100 million or so, $100 million worth of shares on their previous earnings announcement, the one in September. He sold from like, what does it say here? September 1st through September 14th. So here through here. He was selling in here. And like, you know, that earnings announcement was really, really bullish, but he was selling. It'll be interesting to see if on this one he sold more too. I guess nothing's really come in yet. We don't see, oh, he was gifted 116,000 shares. So I guess selling these, you know, $100 million worth of shares over here wasn't a big deal because he was just gifted. Can you imagine being gifted 116,000 NVIDIA shares right now? That'd be pretty sweet, right? Ooh, my colleague is suggesting 10-year seasonality. Let's see. 10-year seasonality on NVIDIA. So this is looking back 2013. Ah, okay, so this is why he's suggesting it. That's interesting. Look at this. Over the past 10 years, Arnab, 36% win rate in December. So when you're playing around with seasonality, never a bad idea to kind of look at different periods of time. Mean change negative 2.29% in December. Let's see where we're at so far. So we're already there. We're at like 2.5%. Interesting. Shout out, Ryan. Cheers. Thank you for the tip there. We could look back maybe 5 years and just see where we're at. 2019. Wow, 5 years, December seasonality, negative or 20%. So over the past 5 years, December's only been positive one time over the past 5 years. Interesting. Yeah, so seasonally weak is the reality. NVIDIA. This time of year, NVIDIA performs poorly. So then that gives a little bit more credence to the idea, potentially there's more pullback left. You know, just keep an eye on things. Do what makes sense for your time frame. Very interesting. Any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns? Jazzwinder, what's up? Hope you're well. Thank you for being here. Does draw chart position calculate correctly if you invert move profit target and stop level to change it for short position versus long? Draw chart position. I'm not sure I understand. Can you clarify? If you invert move profit target and stop level. I'm not sure I understand your question, BD. To compare versus trading view, there's long position and short position. So like, give me one sec. So flipping the drawing by dragging the dots. Are you talking to... This what you're talking about? Like this? Is this what you mean? I've always called this the position drawing tool. So draw chart position kind of like had me turned around. Does draw chart position calculate correctly if you invert, move, profit, stop? Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. Yeah. So you just drag. I'm sorry. I was a little confused there for a moment. It's Monday morning. I'm still waking up, coming to over here. But yes. I suppose if you wanted to, let me see something. I bet. Yeah. So check this out. If you wanted to, if you just were, you know, if you were tired of doing the drags, since it defaults to long, you could always go to properties and then say custom annotation. Save as custom annotation. You could call it short. Maybe. I don't know. And then it'll appear over here. Oh no, it still does it. Huh. That's kind of interesting. I guess you can't do that. I'm actually surprised I can't do that. Yeah, so that's what you got to do. Just drag it, and you'll be off to the races. No problem at all. Yeah, I suppose you could do that too. Type the values here, and then it'll, right, it'll, you know, 190. Profit target, 160. Stop, 192. Yeah, you can do that. I don't know. Dragging it seems easier to me, but do whatever makes sense for you. Yeah, no problem at all. So what's up? Any other big questions from you guys? Any other things you'd like to look at? I got a few more minutes here. What's up? Any other big questions from you guys? Keep it simple, stupid. That's what they say, right? The KISS method is a great way to go about life, I think. We always try to overcomplicate things. This is profoundly visible in strategy creation as well. The heat map, sure. 3 different types of heat maps. I'm just gonna turn all this stuff off. Now, the first thing you got to know about heat maps. Heat maps are an auto analysis tool. All right. Heat maps are an auto analysis tool, and an auto analysis tools are going to be your auto fibs, your auto trends, your heat maps. And they are based off of what we call the truth and analysis timestamp. Truth and analysis timestamp is delineated by a vertical dashed line. This guy right here happens to be the truth and analysis timestamp. And you can see that this thing is locked onto November 22nd at 7:30 a.m. So it's locked onto a date in the past. And this is very important. Why is it locked onto this date? Well, it's locked onto this date because this is the last time I updated my auto analysis tools. We ask you as TrendSpider traders to update your auto analysis tools whenever it makes sense for you. We don't want to be determining when your auto analysis tool is updated because we don't know what you're using. You might be using this trend line, you know? And then if you are using that trend line as, you know, a reason to get into or out of a trade or your stop level or whatever, we don't want to remove that off your chart for you. So you have to update your auto analysis tools on your own. So to do that, click on the refresh icon. It's going to jump that truth and analysis timestamp line to the current candle. It's going to update all of your auto analysis tools. So notice my trend lines. Now I have a different set of trend lines on my chart. I have a different set of heat maps. This is the horizontal heat map. Horizontal heat map looks for areas on the chart where price has made the same highs or the same lows over a period of like what's the right word? Like a bunch of candles in a row have made relatively the same highs or the same lows. You can see it kind of right in here, right? It finds areas where price essentially consolidated and then extends that area right on the chart. As time goes on, that heat map fades. So when it first gets created, it's a bright red color. And as it extends out into the future, it tends to fade. The fade is meant to represent the idea that over time, these heat map levels can lose their potential power to act as support or resistance. To me, the easiest heat map to read is going to be this horizontal heat maps. And again, giving more credence to a brighter, darker red area than a duller red area. Obviously, it's going to change as time goes on too. Or as you switch time frames, rather. And it is going to change as time goes on. The next style is depth. Depth utilizes your auto trends. And specifically, this chart, this auto trends chart. So this is every single trend line that the platform is finding. We never automatically show you this, but this is what gets filtered. And so what we're seeing here in the heat maps, we're seeing kind of the path of least resistance for price extended out. Anywhere that's black on the chart, that's where price can float relatively freely without coming into any support or resistance. You can see it came up into this red area here, even though it's like a lighter red or a duller red, I guess is the better way to say it. It rejected off of this. So there's, you know, probably quite a few trend lines that come through here. And now we're in this area of black, which is an area where price can really float freely. The next area where price might find a bid, according to the heat maps, is kind of down in here, is where we start seeing heat maps again. Does that mean price is going to just nosedive down to here? Well, not necessarily, but if it does, then you start seeing heat maps around 180. It gets a little bit brighter around 177. It gets brighter again around 171. Then it gets really bright down here. So again, the brighter, the bolder, the red, the more powerful an area may be in terms of acting as potential support or resistance. The duller, the less powerful it may be. But you can kind of see what's happened, what has tended to happen. And then finally, you have trends. And again, this utilizes that unfiltered view of auto trends. So it's looking for areas where there are lots of trend lines coinciding. overlapping, connecting the same highs and lows. Brighter, bolder areas of red are going to be more powerful, potentially more powerful areas where support resistance might be found. So again, you're looking for these heat map areas. If price is to fail and continue lower from here, you might look for this area to come in and act as some support. Doesn't mean it will, but the potential is there. So that's kind of the idea behind the heat maps. Like I say, me personally, I'm a horizontal levels kind of person. So the horizontal heat maps make the most sense to me personally. But, you know, use what makes sense for you. Use what you like. And use these, of course, as you always would. Use them in tandem with other tools. You know, don't base a decision solely on just like one heat map level. Confirm that there's something else there. Maybe it's an anchored VWAP, or maybe it's a fib, or maybe it's a important moving average. I don't know, you know, but it's good to always confirm. Look for multiple things pointing to the same idea. Do I use after hours and pre-market data? Personally, I do not. I do not. It's low volume. Generally speaking, low volume. I think it muddies up the reality of the chart, personally. Nothing wrong with using it, you know? Definitely try using it. Specifically in the strategy tester, I don't use it because I'm never getting into or out of trades in after hours or pre-market. So it doesn't make sense for me to use it. I'd always be getting into or out of a trade during regular session. Gary, do you feel like you understand the heat map a little bit better? Awesome. Once it's updated, you cannot move it. BD. So yeah, update it when you're prepared to update it. And also remember that, like, if there's something that you're wanting to keep from a previous, before you update it, like a trend line or something like that, just make sure you lock that trend line in place. Double click on it, you know. Any trading books that I love? Let me see here. Yeah, hold on. Let me grab it. So I've got this one. This one's called Volume Price Analysis by Anna Cooling. I find this one a complete guide to volume price analysis. Looks like my camera has stopped working. I don't know. Maybe you guys can confirm that. It's kind of weird. I've never had my camera stop working before. I'll have to look into that. I don't know if you guys could see me, so let me get you a link. Here is a link. Yeah, can you guys see me? Like, is my face moving? Is my mouth moving? So I like that one. Volume Price Analysis by Anna Cooling. I've got Brian Shannon's books. I've got Confessions of a Stock Operator. Yeah, camera froze. I'm not sure how to... Let me see here. That's very strange. It does appear that it's frozen. Let's try this again. Yeah, it has. Odd. Well, I promise I'm still here. Maybe I can unplug and replug? Let's try this again. Ah, okay. Well, okay, I'm back. Maybe that worked. I guess. So this book, this bad boy. Yes, heat maps and order blocks are totally different. Order blocks are a very, very specific thing. Order blocks are the last candle, the last, like if you're in an uptrend, it's the last green candle before the it's the last green candle in the before the reversal. And order blocks are the, if you're in a downtrend, it's the last red candle before the reversal. So it's a different, it's a totally different calculation. Because it's just one candle. Order blocks are always just based off of a single candle. But again, kind of like I was suggesting, using them in tandem. If you know you've got an order block at a particular spot and you see a heat map level there, potentially that gives a little bit more strength to the order block or the heat map, right? It's kind of how I'd be thinking about it anyway. So we are coming up. Yeah, no problem, Greg. We are coming up on an hour. Do we have any last questions? Do we have any last minute questions from you guys, gang, that I can attend to before I got to get out of here? If not, no pressure, no big deal. It is just Monday. Things are just kind of getting going again. But we will continue doing these throughout the week. Probably one or two more. Maybe Wednesday, maybe Friday. Did one over the weekend just to kind of see. I didn't tell anybody I was doing it. Just kind of went live on Saturday morning. Had some folks show up. We answered some questions. It was good. Is there anybody here who is not yet a TrendSpider user? I do want to know that. Or a TrendSpider trader. I don't want to call you guys users. TrendSpider trader. Market's looking like they're trying to find a bottom here, huh? If no other question, is veal better? I would prefer to eat veal than eat a moving average. Yes. If a possible schedule could be on Discord. BD, so does it not alert you that I go live if you subscribe to the channel? And also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. You guys don't understand how much subscribes help me. They make me look really good. So if you guys enjoyed these, please subscribe to the channel. Your Twitter account is suspended. Well, that's not so great. Make you another one. Is VWAP better than a moving average? Gary, that is a question that I cannot answer. Not that I don't want to answer it. It's just, it might be better today, but also it might not be, you know? And what moving average? And what VWAP? Are you talking about an anchored VWAP? Are you talking about the daily VWAP? Like the intraday VWAP? What are we talking about? What moving average? You talking about a 10 period? You talking about a 200 period? Price close greater than 2 EMA, high-low close on Tilray 4 hour. 2 EMA, like the 2 length? That's not very much data. So, Gary, that's a really tough question. Discord watch a little more often. So the schedule, I don't have a definitive schedule, but I have been going live basically between like 10:30 and 11 Eastern on Monday-ish, Wednesday-ish, Friday-ish has been kind of the game as of late. I do try and remind in Discord, but I don't always that I'm going live. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, or if you are subscribed to the channel, I thought that if you're subscribed to the channel, it will let you know. It would update you and tell you that, hey, we're live. But I could be wrong about that. Maybe I need to look into that. But that's just what I always assumed about it. So maybe you can let me know. But yeah, is VWAP better than moving average? That's a nearly impossible question to answer, Gary. It's a kind of a different thing, right? Because it's volume weighted. Moving averages, unless you define them as such, are not volume weighted. Personally, I'm interested in the volume weighting. But I also don't personally trade with many moving averages. I don't really trade with any moving averages. Like, I think it's not so terrible of an idea to know where like a 200 is. Like for my style of trading, it's kind of good to know. But generally speaking, I'm not making trading decisions off of moving averages. I utilize moving averages to build strategies, and that's interesting. So I guess in a way I am. I don't know. I guess if I employ a strategy that uses a moving average, then yes, I'm trading off of it, right? But those are automated. In my personal trading and my discretionary trading that I do every day, or that I do when I trade discretionally, I'm not using moving averages. But never a bad idea to know where they are. I mean, it's never a bad idea to know where VWAP is either. But which one is best is a nearly impossible question. And I'm sorry that I can't answer it. But, today the VWAP might be wildly important, and then tomorrow price may just cut right through it like a hot knife and never even pay attention to it again. While at the same time bouncing 6 times off of a particular moving average, right? So like that's where strategy testing would come into play. You could try it, you could define moving average things, you could define VWAP things and see what tends to work. I would almost be more inclined to like define them in tandem with one another. Price is above or price is below VWAP but above X moving average, or vice versa. Be where my head's at anyway. So y'all, here we are. We have hit an hour. And so I think I'm going to get to stepping. Unless there are any last minute questions, then we'll address them. But I do got to pop into a meeting here very shortly. So we're going to give a 2-minute warning. 2-minute warning for questions. If nobody has any more questions, totally cool. Let me know. If you have enjoyed this stream, hit me with a like. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Again, like I said, these things are helpful. This subscriptions in particular, that lets us know that you guys like these and that you want us to keep doing them. And then I can point to them and say, hey, they like them. They want me to keep doing them. And then I'll get to keep doing them. You know, I know that a lot of streamers ask, they like, you know, they ask a lot for likes and subscribing to the channel. And before I started going live all the time, I was suspect about those requests, but now I understand. Now I understand. The likes and the subscribes are helpful. We like the number going up, just generally speaking. All right, 1 minute warning for questions. Like, subscribe. Let's go, BD. Thank you, sir, or ma'am. I don't know. Big thank you to everybody who came today to the live stream. These are very small, intimate affairs, but I really enjoy hanging out with you guys in the mornings and talking shop. I very much enjoy y'all walking away feeling like you understand a little bit more about the platform. If you learned something today, then we did our job. Y'all came here for a good reason. I feel validated by you guys having learned something. So hopefully you learned a little bit today. We'll be back at it again on Wednesday morning, probably around the same time, maybe just a little bit later, probably 11 a.m. Eastern. Probably what we'll do on Wednesday. I had to start a little bit early today because we have a meeting. But yeah, again, thank you all for being here. It has been a pleasure. Trade them well this week. Be careful out there. Some vol this morning. We'll see how things shake out. And I look forward to seeing y'all again on Wednesday. And yeah, have a great rest of your day, guys. We'll see you very soon. Take care.